The day my sister ruined my wedding and changed my life forever. My name is Amanda, and my wedding day was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I'd dreamed about it since I was a little girl, the moment I would walk down the aisle, wearing a gown I'd chosen with care, surrounded by people who loved me, ready to start my life with the man of my dreams. 18 months of planning, months of saving, countless late nights scrolling through flower arrangements, color schemes, invitation designs. Every single detail was hand-picked. Handwritten invitations with gold calligraphy, the perfect flowers. A lace gown, I thought, made Mel look like royalty, but all it took was 10 seconds for my younger sister Stephanie to destroy it. She threw champagne all over my dress. She slammed her hand into our beautiful 3-tier cake, and she screamed in front of over 100 guests that I deserved it, and my mother. She hugged her, comforted her, told everyone she just needed to let it out. That moment, standing there with champagne dripping down my gown, guests staring, Nathan holding my hand, something inside me snapped. And that night, I made a decision that would change my family forever. I've always been the achiever in my family. Graduated with honors from Northwestern University. Built a career as a marketing executive in one of Chicago's top advertising firms. I love my job, the challenge, the creativity, the satisfaction when a campaign succeeds. 3 years ago, I met Nathan at a charity fundraiser for children's literacy. He was an architect. Tall, thoughtful, with an easy smile. We talked for hours about Frank Lloyd Wright, our favorite coffee spots, the quirks of living in Chicago. Nathan was everything I'd hoped for. Intelligent, kind, supportive. We balanced each other perfectly. My organized, high-energy approach to life and his calm, patient way of looking at things. 18 months later, he proposed during a weekend getaway to Lake Michigan. I still remember the breeze that night, how the sun turned the water gold, the way his voice shook slightly when he asked me to marry him. And then there's Stephanie, 8 years younger, the family favorite from day one. When I was 12, my parents divorced. Mom Diana kept us most of the time, and from as far back as I can remember, there was always an excuse for Stephanie's behavior. She was just sensitive. When she threw tantrums, she was just figuring herself out when she dropped. Out of college 3 times, Dad Richard was quieter. He worked long hours as a hospital administrator and avoided confrontation. Whenever Stephanie did something out of line, his advice to me was always Thesum, be patient. She'd grow up eventually, but she didn't. When I got my first big promotion, she accidentally spilled red wine on my brand new white blazer. When I bought my first condo, she announced to a room full of people that I could only afford it because I was sucking up to corporate bosses. Mom laughed those things off. Dad stayed quiet, and I tried to let them go. Still, I believed my wedding would be different. Nathan and I booked Lakeside Gardens, a venue with towering glass windows and a panoramic view of Lake Michigan. When it came time to shop for my wedding dress, I wanted to go with my best friend Kelly. But Mum insisted Stephanie come along. From the moment we arrived, she criticized every dress. That makes your arms look huge. That lace is outdated. When I finally stepped out wearing the dress, a fitted mermaid style with delicate beading on the cathedral-length train, everyone gasped. Everyone except Stephanie Dodd. Her comment? I could never get away with something so attention-seeking. June 10th, sunlight streamed into my hotel suite, warming the white silk robe I was wearing. My bridesmaids Kelly, Jasmine, and my cousin Tara arrived right on time with coffee and bagels. The hair and makeup team was setting up. My bouquet, white roses, and soft blush peonies had just been delivered. The morning was going perfectly, except Stephanie was nowhere to be found. She finally walked in almost 2 hours late, hair uncombed, eyes puffy. still in her hotel robe, holding a giant coffee cup that I suspected wasn't just coffee. "Overslept," she muttered. Mom, quick to defend, said she wasn't feeling well. She complained about the hairstyle we'd chosen months ago, said the bridesmaid dress color made her look washed out, and refused to zip it up until the very last second. I kept repeating to myself, "It's fine, just get through the day." The church was breathtaking. White roses lined the aisle. Soft classical music floated through the air. When the wedding march began and I stepped forward with Dad, my eyes locked on Nathan's single quotes as everything else faded away. We exchanged vows. We kissed. We walked out as husband and wife. For that moment, I believed we'd made it. The reception hall sparkled ivory linens, white roses and hydrangeas, fairy lights strung above Lake Michigan, shimmering in the background. Dad's speech was heartfelt, full of pride in my accomplishments, and with every sentence, I saw Stephanie's jaw tighten. She made trip after trip to the bar, interrupted my conversations, told Nathan's grandmother Amanda was always the golden child. Our cake was a masterpiece, 3 tiers of vanilla with raspberry filling, covered in flawless white fondant, adorned with handcrafted sugar flowers. Nathan and I stood smiling for the camera, knife in hand, ready to cut the first slice. Then Stephanie, unsteady on her feet, champagne glass in hand. "Stephanie, wait," Mum's voice barely left. Her mouth before it happened. Cold champagne splashed across my face, soaking the front of my dress. Gasps erupted from the guests. Before I could react, Stephanie slammed her palm into the cake. The bottom tier collapsed, sugar flowers tumbling to the floor. "This is what you get for acting like you're better," she shouted. Nathan stepped between us. Mum rushed to hold Stephanie, stroking her hair, saying she just needed to let it out. I stood there, champagne dripping, my dress stained, and I knew something had to change. That night, while the party wound down, I took action. I cancelled Stephanie's tuition payment, withdrew as guarantor from her lease, removed her from my credit card, closed our shared account. I documented everything. The next morning at brunch, Stephanie came in looking smug. "You promised to help me," she said. "That was before you ruined my wedding," I replied. "Actions have consequences." Mom accused me of being petty. I told her, "No, I'm ending the enabling. If she wants help, therapy, a job, passing grades, respect, otherwise nothing." For the first time, Dad agreed with me. Stephanie got a roommate, found a job at a bookstore, started therapy. Mom didn't speak to me for 2 months. Dad called me every week. 4 months later, I got a handwritten letter from Stephanie. She admitted she'd been jealous for years, took responsibility, asked for nothing. When we met in a coffee shop, she told me she'd snapped because she couldn't stand seeing him happy. For the first time, we spoke honestly. I agreed to consider helping her in the future, but only if she stayed in therapy, kept her job, and treated me with respect. Mom reluctantly attended therapy twice. Dad became more vocal in calling out bad behavior. Stephanie moved into a smaller apartment, budgeted her money, and paid for community lodge herself. On our anniversary, Nathan asked if I regretted taking such a hard line. "Not at all," I told him. "Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stop protecting someone from the consequences of their choices." My wedding day might have been partly ruined, but it sparked change my family desperately, and that was the most important gift I received that day.